365 Sports.
Welcome back to 365 Sports Mizzou with Rogue Media. Man, it's Friday. That's awesome. I love Friday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. If you are here, obviously, thank you. We've got a couple things to discuss today. Mizzou basketball play last night. That's something we'll talk about. Mizzou's football's 2026 schedule came out last night. Or not last night. Yeah, I think so. So we'll talk about that as well. Talk about whatever else comes up, we'll discuss. But I want to start on the basketball side of things. Missouri coming off of 2 straight losses to good teams, albeit, but a road loss to Notre Dame, a semi-road loss to Kansas. This team was in desperate need of a victory, a win. And so it was nice that they had an easy easier opponent here in Alabama State. They were 27.5-point favorites going into this. It was, it's a home game after a couple of disappointing losses. I think this was always going to be a win. You cannot lose this game. And give them some credit. They didn't lose the game. They won the game 85-77, which, if you can do your math, that is not covering the 27.5-point spread. And it's not even really coming close. And I don't know. When you look at the numbers, Missouri shot 65% from the field. Missouri shot 50% from 3. Missouri shot 69% from the free throw line. Missouri out-rebounded Alabama State only by 4, but still out-rebounded. More assists. They turn the ball over more, so that's where maybe the problem is. But they led throughout the game, and you look at the shooting numbers, it's like, man, Missouri shot the lights out of the ball. Surely they would cover the spread, but they didn't, because Alabama State also shot well, 47% from the field, 50% from 3. They made 13 threes in this game. I think what we're seeing is what I've feared. The defense is bad. Alabama State scored 64 points against Florida State, 77 against UAB. They scored 64 against Air Force, 66 against Colorado, 64 against UT Martin, and 77 against Missouri. Just looking at those numbers by themselves, that's not encouraging. The defense isn't very good. And the problem is, in the past, when Missouri has had mediocre defenses, they've made up for it with the really good offenses. And I'm not sure if this team is going to have a very good offense. We saw what happened against Kansas. The offense was terrible. We saw what happened in the second half against Notre Dame. The offense stalled. Missouri put up 85 points here against Alabama State. They shot really well. Jacob Cruz he's taken a step up that, you could have only hoped for. I don't think you could have predicted it. He shot 6 of 8 from 3, scored 20 points. Got his first start of the season. I think that is due. He needs to be starting. Javon Porter pretty much gives you nothing right now, other than size, and I think Missouri has size elsewhere. Jacob Cruz, he's big. He's 6'8". So I think I like Cruz in the starting lineup. I get that, you want him to kind of have the Caleb Grill off the bench role, but this offense doesn't really have the ability to just save one of their best scorers right now, I don't think. So anyway, what I was saying, this game, the offense looked very good. You get 15 from Mark Mitchell. Like I said, 20 from Cruz. You get 19 from Anthony Robinson, shoots 7-11 from the field. That's a great game from him. That's what you need him to be doing. He led the team in minutes with 37 minutes. Only 3 fouls. I'll take that. You only turned the ball over once, finished with 5 assists. That's a good game from your point guard for sure. So I'm kind of getting off track, but the offense overall in this game, it was fine. But overall, I don't know if there's enough to keep you afloat with a defense that's not going to play well. So I don't know. I guess all that to say is I don't know really what to feel about this team. This was an 8-point win that really was way too close. I mean, Missouri had a 13-point lead at halftime. They outscored Alabama State 52-39 in the first half, and then were outscored by 5 in the second half, 38-33. The second half woes need to stop. That is something that hurt them, obviously against Notre Dame, obviously against Kansas. It almost hurt them here. I mean, Alabama State cut this game to 7, I think, at one point. And, that can't happen against a team like this. Alabama State isn't good. They made the tournament last year, so that's at least maybe that makes you feel better, but they're not a good team. And you only win by 8 when Vegas wanted you to win by 28. So there is a lot to be desired here. And I appreciate the win. Missouri's 9-2. That's fine. But I'm not sure they have an impressive win yet. I guess the Minnesota win was pretty impressive. They pulled away and won that game by 23 points. But they've got one more easy game against Bethune-Cookman, and then they play the bragging rights game against Illinois. And from there, it just takes off. It gets very tough. So hopefully this team can get healthy. Like Trent Pierce still hasn't played, and he might be a guy that gives you a spark. Jaden Stone still coming back from his injury. That'll be a huge help for the offense when he comes back. So I'm not going to write off this team yet. I don't want to speak too negatively after a win. But I think, I talked about it yesterday. I talked about how this game was a chance to get back on the right track, help your fans feel better about losing. It's a game to get things going in the right direction again. And while they did win, I'm not sure they really put to rest any of the real concerns that this team has. So I don't know. This is a team Missouri should have put away pretty quickly, and they let him hang around, and that's fine because you win. But I don't know what to think. It's early, and there's a whole lot of season left, but I just don't get the vibes that this is going to be one of those really fun years of basketball. I don't know. It could be. It's too early to give up. But, in 2020, what was that, 2022, when they were good, they did get smoked by Kansas that year. That's worth remembering. But then they turn around and beat, Illinois. They beat Kentucky quickly. The offense looked good. And then last year, they beat Kansas. They beat California. They They started SEC play real strong. So there's still the SEC play part that maybe they can get this thing going. They can get healthy and get moving. But I don't know. Just watching the team doesn't give me a lot of confidence in them being able to compete compete for one of the top spots in a very difficult conference. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough, it's going to be a tough job for Coach Gates to do. I think he's got to be better in some ways. But Missouri 9-2, 8-0 at home. They got Cookman coming up at home. That game is on the 14th. So what would that be? Sunday. And then, man, Illinois on the 22nd. Florida on the 3rd of January, Kentucky on the 7th, Ole Miss on the 10th, Auburn on the 14th, LSU on the 17th, Georgia on the 20th, Oklahoma on the 24th. I'm just listing the whole schedule, but it starts tough. It does get easier in SEC play, but it starts very tough. And we're going to find out a lot about this team and bragging rights in St. Louis coming up next week. All right, speaking of schedules, let's move on to Missouri football. Missouri football, their schedule was released. We already knew who Missouri was playing and where they were playing. We didn't know when the games were going to come. And there's a couple things to note here. And I'll just read through the schedule, okay? September 5th, they open the year. By the way, this will be the first game with the completed end zone project, the fully enclosed stadium. That's going to be great. That is Arkansas Pine Bluff. They host them on the 5th. On the 12th, they go to Lawrence, Kansas. They play the Jayhawks in the Border War. On the 19th, they come back home and they play Troy. And then they start SEC play right there with Mississippi State. At Mississippi State. They go to at Mississippi State. So it's home away to start in September. That's your September schedule. Pretty manageable first month of the season. You should win all 4 of those games. Definitely, you should win all 4 of those games. October, you have your homecoming game hosting Florida. That's pretty interesting. On October 3rd, you host Florida. Homecoming. On the 10th, you host A&M. So that's this is a tough stretch here. On the 17th, you go to Ole Miss. You got to bye the next week, and then you host Arkansas on October 31st. Halloween. How about that? So that's a tough month, but manageable. I think you should win. I mean, obviously you want to win all these games because, you're trying to elevate. But, Florida, question mark with a new head coach. Ole Miss, question mark with a new head coach. Arkansas, question mark with a new head coach. So up. Those games are up for grabs, I think. Interesting slate there in October. You're not. It's again. It's 2 home, 2 away. So you're not loading the schedule with home games like what happened last year, or I guess this year. So far you have Arkansas at Kansas, Troy at Mississippi State, Florida, Texas A&M at Ole Miss, at Arkansas. November, the final month of the season. This is where things get pretty tough. You host Texas. You go to Georgia. You host Kentucky, and then you host Oklahoma. That's a tough slate. Texas, Georgia, Kentucky, Oklahoma. Kentucky you should beat, but the other 3 are going to be very, very difficult games. This is a tough schedule. I'll say that. A lot of it depends on how some of these teams with new coaches can reconfigure and reload or whatever, like Ole Miss. I don't know if Ole Miss is going to be the same Ole Miss that they were this year or last year. You got to think that Texas will be very good. You got to think Georgia's going to be very good. You got to think Oklahoma's going to be very good. So it is a tough slate, but you do finish home and home against Kentucky and Oklahoma. I like finishing the year at home. I like that. One thing that stands out to me right away is the last week of the regular season in college football is rivalry week. And for years now, that has been Arkansas. You've played the Battle Line rivalry the last week of the regular season. For as long as I've watched and been a fan, they've they've played Arkansas to finish the year. And we know that the 3 permanent opponents for Missouri is Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. So what's interesting to me is you're playing Arkansas now in October 31st, while Oklahoma is your big rivalry game on the final week of the regular season. I like this because I think the Oklahoma-Missouri rivalry is better than the Missouri-Arkansas rivalry. I mean, at least that's how I feel. Maybe that's because Arkansas hasn't been good in a long time, and it hasn't been a competitive rivalry since the rivalry has been a thing. It has been lopsided in favor of Missouri. Oklahoma has been pretty lopsided in favor of Oklahoma, but the last couple of years, the Oklahoma game has felt much bigger than the Arkansas game. So I like having that game be kind of the premier rivalry for Mizzou. Outside of Kansas, of course, you can't play. I mean, I guess you could play Kansas the final week of the regular season. You see Clemson and South Carolina play late. You see Georgia Tech play late. So it doesn't have to be in your conference. And I wonder if that'll ever be something that happens. You play Kansas the last game. Probably not, because you're leaving, a team. I think it just makes more sense to keep it in the SEC. But outside of Kansas, I do feel like right now Oklahoma, with the recent history over the last couple of years, recruiting stuff, on the field stuff, I think it's, probably the biggest rivalry Missouri has outside of Kansas. What sucks about it, and I'm not trying to pile on here for Arkansas, but outside of 1 year in the past couple, I can go look at the series. Let me see here. Outside of, I'm talking about Missouri, Arkansas here, the battle line rivalry. Missouri leads the series 12-4, so not competitive at all. Missouri has won since 2017. They've won every matchup except for 2021. So I don't know. What sucks about this is that on the last game of the regular season, oftentimes that's a must-win game. And it was nice to have Arkansas there. And it hasn't been must-win in terms of playoffs for Missouri, but it has been nice to see Arkansas at the end of your schedule, because Missouri has handled Arkansas and has done a good job against them recently. So now switching Arkansas, who's a team that struggled recently, to Oklahoma, a team that, is in the playoffs this year and that beat Missouri this year. It makes for it makes for a tougher end of the season for sure. But, I think for the neutral college football fan, that's going to be a fun game to watch. And maybe the rivalry kind of gets sparked here and becomes a bigger deal, Missouri, Oklahoma. But it is tougher for Missouri. No doubt about it. It gets tougher for Missouri. But it's, I don't know. It's interesting. I like leaning into this rivalry because I think Missouri and Oklahoma fans hate each other. You see it all over Twitter. They hate each other. There's been history with Caden Green and, Williams and Nwaneri and Luther Burden, like all that. Those recruiting battles were all kind of between Missouri and Oklahoma. So there's stuff there, and I think that I think Venables and Drinkwitz have a good relationship. I'm pretty sure. I think I remember reading that, but I don't know. I think that's a fun game. Overall, this schedule, though, it makes you look at the last 2 years that Missouri's had on the schedule, and you think, how have Missouri not made the playoff with this slate? Because this is a tough one. You should go undefeated in September, but immediately in Florida, it gets tough. In October, it gets tough. Your SEC opponents, I'll just read those off. At Mississippi State, home against Florida, home against Texas A&M, at Ole Miss, at Arkansas, home against Texas, at Georgia, home against Kentucky, home against Oklahoma. It's tough. It's going to be very tough. I would say the only games I feel comfortable marking down as wins right now are home against Kentucky, probably at Mississippi State, maybe at Arkansas. Everything else is going to be very difficult. And I think even Arkansas could be difficult depending on how Ryan Silverfield is able, if he's able to, get a good team there. But everything else is going to be very difficult. And Missouri should win, should go 3-0 in non-conference, obviously. But, it's going to get, it's a difficult schedule. And I think 2027, it might get more difficult. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. I guess we'll find out in a year. But, that's kind of the breakdown of it. That's, it's fun to get to play a couple of these teams you haven't played, like Texas. We haven't played Texas since I've been going to Missouri. I don't think they've played Ole Miss since I've been going to Missouri. You played Georgia a lot, but not last year or the year before. So you kind of get to play that game again. And Missouri got very close in those two games in 21 and 22. So in 20, what was that? 22 and 23, they got close the last two times they played. So maybe there's some, maybe there's some I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. They got close in the last two times they played, so maybe they're ready to play them again, see if they can beat them. I don't know. But it's tough. It's tougher than this year's for sure. It's tougher than last year's for sure. But with the state of this program right now, I think especially after, retaining Drinkwitz, I think you expect this program to get better each year. And so I expect Missouri to improve next year. You have to improve. You win 8-4 this year. That's not good enough. It's good. It's not good enough. You got to. I want this team to improve. So, transfer portal business is coming up soon. That's always a lot of fun. I always love that. Missouri has had 3 guys announce their intentions to enter the portal. You have James Madison. You have Brennan Haygood, a true freshman running back, and another true freshman running back, Marquise Davis. So 3 guys in the portal. It's going to be interesting to see. Missouri's got to bring some big-time players in now. So we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that whenever that stuff starts coming out. But for now, that's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me on this Friday afternoon, evening, morning. Maybe you're listening on Saturday. I don't know. Wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening, I appreciate it. Before I go, hear this message very quick. Starting now.
Missouri, your moment is finally here because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. Now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more. All from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. Missouri fans know game day, the tailgates, the noise, the passion. Now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense. Just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ALLMIZZOU. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code ALLMIZZOU. Crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21+, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promo.
Well, there you have it. If you're a first-time sports bettor in Missouri, download DraftKings, use promo code ALLMIZZOU, and you get a little gift, a little Christmas gift from our friends at DraftKings. Not a lot of football going on this week, unless you count the NFL. So you get in on some NFL action. You can get in on Army-Navy, one of the best games every single year I'm going to be watching. I'm reading a book right now called Civil War, and it's a John Feinstein book. And he kind of follows Army Navy around during the 1995 season. And so I love John Feinstein. I'm just starting it now. It feels very timely. I'm starting it the week of Army Navy. It's getting me in the mood. I might responsibly, maybe I'll throw a couple dollars down with a buddy of mine or something. You know, always be careful when you're sports gambling. But I'm in Texas. I'm not allowed to use DraftKings yet. I don't know. Texas is pretty far behind on all that stuff. So I may never ever get to use it. You guys should give it a try if you want, in honor of me. That's all I have for today. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. Come back Monday. We'll talk about something. I don't know what yet, but we'll talk about something. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
365 Sports.